All right. So basically, JK Plug and Play based in Silicon Valley. Plug and Play started as the early investors of big names such as Google, PayPal, Danger, and Logitech. Plug and Play is also widely known as a global innovation platform, and we connect the world's change makers in one ultimate ecosystem. In the ecosystem, Plug and Play have partnered with big corporations and act as the bridge between these corporates and startups all over the world. So in a nutshell, Plug and Play helps corporations to innovate through our startups, while startups can fill up the gap with amazing solutions and innovations. And along with the ecosystem, Plug and Play also connect startups with governments, universities, and also investors. So to summarize, what we do in Plug and Play is consisting with three main pillars of innovation. First, accelerator program, corporate innovation platform, and venture capital. Up to the first pillar, we accelerate startups through our accelerator program, where we empower startups to accelerate their business by gaining more traction, meaningful connection, and meeting the right mentors. And after the second pillars, we connect startups to our corporate partners, where we engage startups directly with both local and international corporations, therefore providing startups the opportunity to do pilots of projects and proof of concept through what we called as deal flow session. And lastly, we also do invest or co-invest with investor partners for most of our startups portfolio as a venture capital. As for the program, startups will be powered up by our passionate experts for a few mentorships and workshops to accelerate their business. We also help to connect startups directly with our VC partners, governments, institutions, and alumni ecosystem. And most importantly, we provide startups with opportunities to connect with corporates and to do pilots and POC. So we are connected with more than 300 corporations around the world. And as a part of many success stories, nowadays, Plug and Play has been involved with 8 unicorns, which with each valuation more than 1 billion US dollar. So as you've seen on screen, these are our journey. Plug and Play was first started in Silicon Valley as the headquarters and currently have empowered more than 28 offices located in many countries across the globe. Other Southeast Asia offices are including Singapore as the headquarter office for Asia Pacific, Thailand, Manila, China, Japan, and Jakarta. And these are our journey, starting from Plug and Play itself in 2006, that started to give a big impact to the startup world and corporations. Our entity in Indonesia is unique compared to other Plug and Play branches in other countries because we are also supported by GK, known it Gun Consolindo, that was established in 2012. GK is a local strategic business advisory and investment alliance that also bridges our path between Plug and Play Silicon Valley headquarters with Indonesia. And finally, in 2016, GK and Plug and Play work together as GK Plug and Play Indonesia to invest in startups through our accelerator program and was established as a joint venture. Okay. It all started from Mr. Joko Widodo's visit to Silicon Valley in February 2016. He saw that plug and play vision created a big impact on the technology world. Therefore, he thought that plug and play can improve the local startup ecosystem and overall economic growth. This is the snapshots of Indonesia's president, Mr. Joko Widodo, and our CEO or founder, Said Amidi, in his presidential palace in December 2016, where Said came to Jakarta and celebrated the soft launching for GK Plug and Play Indonesia as a response from Mr. Jokowi's personal invitation. In April 2017, we held our first Expo Day as we have partnered with Astra, BNI, BTN, and Sinarmas. And in November 2019, we have also started our partnerships with Buma, ITM, and BCA. And last, in December 2019, we have more than 65 startups accelerated. And as of today, we have accelerated more than 80 startups through our accelerator program. We engage startup closely with um, media and tech communities for brand exposure and meaningful connections. We also provide um, log- logistical support for our startups portfolios as we work closely with a few co-working spaces. And as mentioned before, we have worked with 7 corporate partners that actively look for innovation, government innovation, government connections, universities, experience mentor across different industries, specialties, and also our VC partners. As you see on screen, these are our program activities during the GCAP Plug and Play Accelerator program. Okay. And for more information, or if you guys want to connect with us, please contact our community and partnership manager, Fortuna Taranika, via email, fortuna@blackandplay.co.id. And stay tuned to our upcoming events by go to jkpnpevents.com. And don't forget to follow our social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Plug and Play Indonesia. All right. That is from Jacob Plug and Play. And for continue, I think Vincent wants to introduce a little about Check-in-Do.
All right. Okay. So
Okay, go ahead.
let's get started. Okay. Thank you so much. It was a very good presentation. So let me share my screen as well. All right. So let's get started. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for the presentation, Novia. It was very interesting to learn about the GK PNP. So now we're going to start the main part of the workshop with Check-in-Do here. So let me just introduce ourselves again. So my name is Vincent, and I'm the consulting manager at Check-in-Do in Jakarta. And then we have Eddie. Eddie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. Hi.
So Eddie is the legal and delivery manager at Check-in-Do in Jakarta as well. All right, so a little bit about Check-in-Do. So Check-in-Do, in a nutshell, is a one-stop service provider for investors who want to set up their businesses in Indonesia, who want to expand in Indonesia, as well as in Vietnam. So essentially, we provide corporate services for investors, ranging from starting from incorporation plus wide range of other services that are complementary as well. We'll go more in details to this. The company was set up in 2011, so we've been in the market for quite a while already in Indonesia. And during this time, we have grown significantly, um, all the way till we're at a on my screen, like something is writing on my screen. Strange. Um, so apologies. So we've grown significantly over the years. Up to now, we have more than 120 employees across 4 branches. The main head office is in Jakarta, and then we have branches in Semarang, in Bali, as well as in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. In terms of our client profiles, we have worked with all different kinds of companies, starting with mom and pop shops all the way to Fortune 500 companies across many different kind of industries. And since end of 2018, we are now part of INCORP Group, which is INCORP Group, which is one of the largest corporate solution providers in Asia. So their INCORP Group is headquartered in Singapore, and we have branches all over the region, starting with India, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Philippines, and then Indonesia and Vietnam through Check-in-Do. So this affords us the ability to have access to large network of collaborators throughout the region. A lot of synergies are put in place between our different branches, and of course, it's very advantageous for our clients who want to enter the Asian market. They can simply generally start in Singapore and then expand from there throughout the region through our network of partners. So in terms of services, so to delve a little bit more in details into this, but it all starts with business setup or incorporation. Usually our clients will say that they want to start a business here in Indonesia, so we will help them with incorporating their company here. And then we have a wide range of added value services which can help them with successfully expand their operations in Indonesia. We provide wide range of services, starting with a serviced office. As simple as serviced office, we have 2 locations in Jakarta, and then locations also in Semarang, Bali, and Vietnam to register their business, but also as a working space if they need to. And then we provide also business process outsourcing, which we will go a little bit more into details towards the end of the presentation. So business process outsourcing means services such as accounting and tax reporting, payroll processing, recruitment, HR, and so on. We also help with immigration services. So obviously, when you're a foreign investor investing in Indonesia, then most likely you will need to get to Indonesia yourself or send some workers to work in your company here as well. And then we can help with the usual visa issues that the clients might be facing. And we also provide solutions for all sorts of legal compliance, namely one of the main one is product registration and importation assistance. These are aspects that our clients need help a lot because of the ever-changing regulations here in Indonesia. And then we have basically a wide range of other services for financial and legal compliance, and simply to run a business completely. So essentially, our clients, our investors entering the Indonesian market can simply work with us and get all the services, all their processes all in one place. All right. And this is a selection of our clients. So as you can see, we have quite a few clients there of all different kind of sizes and industries. More specifically for the startup scene in Indonesia, we have worked with Traveloka and Tokopedia, but also with some other players from overseas. Okay, so for our agenda today, it will be split into three main parts. First, we will discuss incorporation solutions for startups in Indonesia. Then we will go through COVID-19 government incentives that are available here to employees and businesses. And finally, as I explained before, we will go a bit more in details on how business process outsourcing can help startups to run a lean organization. So I will start with incorporation solutions, specifically for tech startups. This is really what we want to focus more on, and what are with the challenges and opportunities. So since we're talking about startups, let's have a quick overview of what is the Indonesian startup landscape today. So first of all, as of 2019, there were over 2,000 startups in Indonesia, which is a significant number, and actually places us at number 5 in the world in terms of number of startups. We are also Indonesia is Asia's second largest recipient of venture capital. So this also shows the tremendous potential of the market here in Indonesia, and the tremendous amount of interest as well from foreign investors, as we can see. And these numbers keep growing year on year. Nowadays, we have 4 unicorns and 1 decacorn, homegrown companies, which are Traveloka, Tokopedia, Bukalapak, and Ovo, and then our own decacorn with Gojek, as you're all familiar with. And finally, looking forward to the future, where it has been predicted, it has been forecasted that the value of the tech startup market in Indonesia will reach 100 billion in 2025, and that will represent over 40% of Southeast Asia's market value prediction. Right, so Indonesia is a heavy hitter, is a heavy player, and we're definitely here to stay. So generally, if we look at the landscape of the startup world, what kind of sectors we have, so obviously the backbone of the startup world in Indonesia is e-commerce, ride-hailing, obviously with Gojek, and fintech as well as travel. However, there are some growth sectors moving forward, mostly in retail, lifestyle, entertainment, travel, health sector, and education. And I believe that especially now in this post-COVID-19 world, these sectors are going to grow even more as we all learn to work from home, and more social distancing. Efficient online services in all those sectors are going to be more important than ever. All right, so let's delve a bit more into the incorporation in Indonesia. So we have actually many types of legal entities available in Indonesia, but what we want to focus more here are the two main ones: the PTPMA, or the Foreign Shareholding LLC. Then we have the Local Shareholding LLC, or Local PT. And then further to that, we will go through how to overcome some challenges with these companies as a startup. So let's talk first about the PTPMA, the Foreign Shareholder Company. So the Foreign Shareholder Company is a company that is used for foreign investors who want to set up a company here in Indonesia and maintain direct control over the company. So to set up such a company, the requirements are fairly straightforward. You need a minimum of 2 shareholders, a minimum of 1 director, 1 commissioner. You need a local registered address, which can be a virtual address as well. Your capital requirements, your investment plan must be over 10 billion rupiah, which is over 700,000 US dollars. You must have a minimum paid up capital to start with of 2.5 billion rupiah, which is 180,000 US dollars. This is the capital that you need to start the business, whereas the investment plan is basically a plan that you must invest 10 billion rupiah over a number of years, and then you update this plan regularly through reporting to the investment board. And finally, the last requirements are special licenses that may be required depending on your industry, on your activities. For instance, if you're setting up a fintech company, then you will need some licenses from the OJK. Now let's look at the advantages and limitations of the foreign shareholder company. So the immediate advantage of the PT-PMA is the ability to have up to 100% direct foreign shareholding in some sectors. More and more sectors are also open to foreign investment because while you can get up to 100% direct foreign shareholding, um, some sectors are still limited. However, these sectors are being opened more and more by the government. This is basically a trend that we've been seeing over the past few years. And even nowadays, there are still deliberations on more sectors that could be open to foreign investment. And finally, another advantage is the investor visa. So if you meet the qualification as a foreign shareholder, you can obtain an investor visa, which is cheaper and faster to get than a regular work and stay permit. And it's really meant so that the foreign shareholders can really come to the country and be involved with the company. The limitations, as I touched upon, is that some sectors are still closed or are limited for foreign shareholding, where it means that the percentage of foreign shareholders is limited to say 67% or 85%, as we will see in the next slide. Another limitation as well, and this is particularly important for startups, are the capital requirements. They are higher than if you set up a local company. This can be an issue in the sense that startups, when they start their operations, they are cash strapped and they have limited capital to get started until they get their first rounds of founding. So this also is an important aspect to take into consideration when choosing the type of legal entity. So let's look here at some of the industry classifications that are commonly used by tech startups in Indonesia and the associated foreign ownership that we have. So a typical one would be a software development activity company such as Indonesia IT or Anantarupa Studio, where here, if you're basically a software developer, you can get up to 100% foreign ownership. Another industry classification that is also quite common for tech startups is consulting management for computer facilities. So this is if you have software solutions that you're trying to deploy to the country. Could be, we were talking about Industry 4.0, so it could be some IoT systems, could be some management systems, some business management system, ERP software, and so on. And these also can provide for 100% foreign ownership. Now let's talk about another one, especially since it concerns one of our unicorn, is the web portal with a commercial purpose. So here we're talking about the typical marketplaces, Tokopedia, Shopee, and so on. Here it's a little bit of a special case where foreign ownership is limited to 49% until the company has a paid up capital of $7 million. So once the company reaches that paid up capital, then they can move to 100% foreign. Jumping on, we have also e-commerce activities. So this is slightly different from the marketplace, from the web portal, in the sense that this is not a marketplace where you have several players that are joining in into one place. This will be for one brand mostly. So we look at companies like Zalora, for instance. This also allows for 100% for. And then we have another sector that is quite common for startups is fintech companies. They will fall under the category of other monetary intermediation industry classification, and this one is limited to 85% foreign ownership. So that's pretty much it. We have one more, which is the other computer information technology services. So this is a bit of an oddball for industries that are not really falling into any of the other categories, such as Bunga, which is an IT forensic company. And this also allows for 100% foreign ownership. So generally, when we work with our clients, we will discuss with them what are their plans, what are they trying to do, and then we will try to find the industry classification that matches, the closest to their activities. And this is to ensure that the business licenses will be obtained without any hassle. Let's move on to the local PT or local shareholder company. So the setup requirements are fairly similar to the PTPMA, but there are some differences. So you also need two shareholders. You need a minimum of one local director and one commissioner, but the shareholder, director, and commissioner must all be local. You also need a locally registered address or virtual office. This also is possible. And then the paid up capital requirements are much lower. They only start at 50 million rupiah, which is 3,500, which is quite a large contrast with the $180,000 required for a PPMA. And once again, there are special licenses that are required depending on the activities of your company. So the advantages are obviously lower minimum capital requirements. This makes it much more flexible to get started. Another advantage are all sectors are available. That means that you have no limit in terms of which industry you want to start your company, which is another big difference with the PTPMA. And also there are lower reporting requirements. There is more scrutiny on the PTPMA than there is on the local PT. The PTPMA has to, for instance, provide a quarterly report to the investment board, which local PT is not required to do. The limitations are that first, if you want to hire a foreigner, you will need a higher minimum paid up capital, which is 1 billion rupiah. It's still lower than for a PTPMA, but it's still a significant amount of money at 70,000 US dollars. And of course, there is no direct foreign investment available for local PT. So this brings us to our first challenge, and what opportunities present themselves with incorporation for startups in Indonesia. So the first one is meeting the local shareholding requirements. So there are basically two instances where you will need local shareholders. If you set up a PTPMA in a sector that has limitation on foreign ownership, then you will need a local shareholder for the part that requires local shareholders. If you, for instance, if it's a fintech company at 85%, then you will need 15% of local shareholders. The other option is the other challenge would be if you are picking a sector that is not available to foreign investors, or you decide simply to set up a local PT because you have challenges with minimum capital requirements. In that case, then you will need 100% local shareholders. So how can you deal with it? So the first thing that you need to bear in mind is that you have maybe you need to find you don't have a local shareholder, you don't have a local partner that you want to work with, right? Maybe you just arrived in the country, you don't know anyone that you trust fully to work with you. And even if you found someone, then there is still a risk of conflict of interest. When you start a company, often everything is all good, but as the business progresses and maybe as you meet some success with the business, then there can be some issues there as well. And of course, as we touched before, you can have some issues with the capital requirements that are out of range. So the solution for this is to work with a company that will provide professional shareholder services. The professional shareholder service is a service where a professional shareholder service provider will provide you with a professional shareholder, a professional local shareholder, which can be in the form of a company or an individual. And then to tie the foreign investor with the local shareholder, then we have a set of legal agreements that will protect both the investor and the local shareholder while maintaining total control in the hands of the foreign investor. This provides some obvious advantages in the sense that there are no conflict of interest with such companies because a professional shareholder service provider will not be interested that much in your business activities because their core business is to provide these kind of services. If you take the example of Chekindo, we are a professional shareholder service provider, and the core of our business is to provide corporate services, to be a one-stop solution provider for investors. So we have no interest in your business. Of course, we're happy if you succeed, but there is no conflict of interest. We will simply take we will basically execute your orders on the company. As simple as that. And of course, it provides a lot of flexibility, as in the sense that you can add and remove shareholders at will. You can increase, decrease shares at will, as you have full control over the company. Another challenge that you may face as a company here, as a startup in Indonesia, whether you're in a PTPMA or a local PT form, is that you may face the limit to hiring foreigners. While the landscape of employees in Indonesia, of the workforce, is getting better and better, there are still some challenges in finding a very specific set of skills, especially when it comes to development and so on. And the competition is really hard, really high. So sometimes you will want to hire some foreigners, some foreign specialists, or maybe simply some of the people that are involved in the founding of the company. However, the first hurdle that you will face is the ratio of foreigners versus local employees. Each company that wants to employ foreigners will need to employ a certain number of locals for each foreigner they want to employ. If you don't have enough local employees, then you will not be approved to hire a foreigner. And as a startup, when you get started, you have very small headcounts, right? Because you're trying to run a lean organization, and you don't need to hire so many people. The other challenge that you will face is the process with handling the work permit and stay permit. It's a little bit complicated. You have a certain number of requirements to meet, and this can be a confusing and time-consuming aspect, and also quite costly. So one of the solutions here is to work with an employer of record in Indonesia, where you can hire people, both foreigners and local. But in that case, we're interested more in foreigners. So you can hire foreigners under the employer of record company. So Chekindo also offers this service. So this is another case where you would be employing your foreigner under Chekindo. So when using an employer of record, the main advantage is you have no limit on the number of foreign employees that you can employ. They will basically be employed under the EOR, the employer of record company. The payroll will go through the employer of record company. The employment agreement as well will be with the EOR and so on. But the employee will work wherever they need to work. They can work on your site, they can work on your. And the other advantage is that because the foreign worker is employed by the EOR, then they will be sponsored by the EOR as well. And then they usually will take care of the work and stay permit application process for the foreign workers as well as for their family. And so this makes things a lot easier and a lot more flexible as well. All right, so let's move on to our next topic. So we will discuss now the government incentives for the COVID-19 situation. And these will concern businesses as well as employees. So there are actually three main types of incentives in the form of tax incentives, actually. First, you have 0% payroll tax for employees. Then you have 0% income tax for SMEs, and then tax discount for non-SMEs. These incentives are limited to a period from April this year until September 2020 this year. So for 6 months only. Although depending on how the situation will evolve, the period might be extended as well. So let's get started with the 0% payroll tax for employees under Tax Article 20. So this is very self-explanatory. Basically, it means that the employees will pay 0% payroll income tax as long as they have a yearly gross salary of 200 million and below. So what will happen is the employer will apply on a monthly basis for this tax incentive at the time of paying the taxes and reporting the taxes on the 10th and 20th of the month, respectively. And then instead of paying the tax to the government, they will pay that amount directly to the employee. So that really translates into extra cash in the hands of the employees on a monthly basis. Next, the 0% income tax for SMEs. So this is under the government regulation 23. This is also very self-explanatory. You get 0% income tax for companies that have annual revenue below 4.8 billion. So, which is the definition of SME. So same thing, each company has to apply on a monthly basis. If you miss the first period of April, then it's too late. But for May, you still have time. Today is the deadline for paying your taxes. And the 20th is the deadline for reporting. Next, we have the tax discount for non-SME. So this is for companies that have annual revenue above 4.8 billion rupiah. And this is basically a 30% discount on company tax installment based on 2019 revenue. This is applied quarterly rather than monthly, like the two previous tax incentives. And the next deadline is the 20th of July. The next and first deadline within that 6-month period is the 20th of July. So you still have time to apply for this tax incentive if you haven't done it yet. You simply need to, you can, even if you overpay, if you have overpaid your taxes, you can still report on the 20th of July as overpaid, and you will get a tax credit for the remaining. All right, and then finally, there's actually 2 more tax incentives, just to be fair, because the government, the Indonesian government, did not give us so much. But to be fair, there are 2 more incentives under the tax article 22, which do not really concern our audience today. It concerns import taxes, so 0% import tax for company that have KITE license, which is a license for import for export. So they're importing, producing something and exporting again. And also another incentive in regards to VAT for this company. So this is for a very special case, and I don't think this is really for our audience today. All right, so that's it for my part. For the last part will be under the hands of Mr. Eddie. So Eddie, I will pass the microphone to you now. Thank you very much.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Let me just share my screen. Okay. So let me just share my screen. I hope you. Wait a sec. Okay. So I start video. Yeah. Okay. So I hope that you're seeing the screen now. So basically, we are going to point 3, advantage of business process outsourcing. You know that since I have elaborate you how to conduct the business in Indonesia, the pointers, and why. But the point is, why would you want to do a business in Indonesia, and what is the difficulty? So I will be discussing these 2 points, and the point is that when you see this business process, usually as businessman, the point is you want to get deals, you want to sign with clients, you want to open up your network, right? So some of these processes, it may be mundane, it might be difficult because it's related to Indonesian regulations and the relevant laws, which is why Tekindo is here as a business process outsourcing provider. Tekindo can handle these pointers for you. Generally, we can provide you services for accounting, tax reporting, payroll, recruitment, and legal compliance. And these are some of the pointers that you will likely encounter once you start your business in Indonesia. Most of them maybe accounting background or marketing background, or maybe you're more on the tech side background. But like it or not, you will encounter some of these aspects if you directly hold the company process. Well, some of our clients are apparently businessmen and entrepreneurs, and they would rather create these opportunities and gain profit opening this in Indonesia, which is why they delegate it to us. And these are also part of the company operations, and a long time. We continuously develop our services we provided to our clients. And if you are opening businesses, definitely you will encounter some of these pointers, especially in Indonesia on the payroll side. Some of the applicable regulations is that you need to provide the social security, you need to provide the health program, and also the fund transfer. And some of these are actually very technical, and if you actually miss the deadline, there will be penalty for it. However, if you have a trustworthy BPO, you can just simply provide the data, and they will process it and they will execute it based on your approval. The next part is the recruitment. So basically, what you should do when you run a business is that you should understand what is the criteria of the employee or the staff you want to recruit, and then you go to the BPO, and then they will filter it on your behalf. They will adjust it based on the Indonesian labor regulations. And uh, if you have any descriptions, additional descriptions, you can also give to the BPO. We will filter it out for you. We'll adjust it for you. And if you have any issues with the employees or with the applicability of the regulations you want to give to them, also the BPO can resolve it on your behalf. And lastly, concerning legal compliance, we understand that whenever the person conducts a business in Indonesia, they will encounter one of these three pointers. First is the contract drafting, especially about agreements. Maybe you are unaware with uh, Indonesian regulations or what are the applicable clauses, but you have your own. It will be good if you can have trustworthy BPO who can offer you competitive prices, give you a bit more hindsight of what is the applicable regulation in Indonesia. They will give you insight, they will give you review. Therefore, a good BPO will give you an edge over the client with the contract slightly tilting towards your favor. And the second part is the trademark registration. This is also quite important because we understand that when people do business, sometimes they skip things. And when they skip things, others may see the opportunity and take it. If the client fails, then they will have to pay the price. Actually, trademark registration in Indonesia is pretty much simple. Once you file the registration, it's accepted by the office. The acceptance for issuance of trademark certificate takes about 1.5 until 2 years. But the good thing is once it's being filed, you'll get a receipt. Once you have the receipt, you can directly use the trademark to start your business in Indonesia. So during that time, the BPO will manage it on your behalf. Any dispute, any comment, objection from the third party should be handled by the BPO. And thirdly is the corporate secretarial services. Just for pointers, there is a law in the company regulation that requires the general meeting of shareholder at least once a year. The point is to provide overview of the company policy or the decision so that the board can be accountable to the shareholder, either the board of director or the board of commissioner. Trustworthy BPO can provide these services for you either directly or indirectly. We can provide a template for you, process it administratively, or if you want to conduct it directly, the BPO should also be able to provide the process for you. So I guess, yeah, these are the advantages. Like why should you hire a BPO? First, it's cost effective. It's uh, it's much cheaper than hiring dedicated team. For example, on legal cases doesn't appear like every month unless you're very labor intensive. Maybe once or twice a year, rather than paying them their salary every year. Why not hire a BPO on a case per case basis? Definitely much cheaper and much faster because you have an experienced BPO to provide you with reasonable counsel. Second is also the compliance. that the Indonesian regulation is a bit challenging because it keeps changing every year. It's a fact. But if the BPO is well aware, they can provide you counsel. They can provide you with pointers on what you should be aware of, especially on your line of business. Second is the flexibility. That the good BPO should not, push all the packages in you. You can opt for the service you want, and you can opt out at and the agreed term. These flexibility will allow to budget your expenses, and you demand definite results, definite promises on what the BPO can offer to you. And the last one is the scalability, meaning that we understand when you start business, you start small, or you can directly start big depending on your capital. And a good BPO, they should provide you with variable fees instead of just giving you a one type of package. Whether you're big or small, there is no differences. Well, a competitive BPO should be able to provide you. The bigger your business, the bigger your position of bargaining, and depending on the amount of business, that BPO can also provide you with specific pointers about the business and the amount of employees and also the number of items. So yes, I guess that's all from my side. If you have any comments, or yeah, that's all from my side. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Eddie. Thank you very much for your presentation. So maybe I will bring up the last slide again for us to see. So far I do not see any question yet. Does anyone have any question that you would like to ask on the topics that we have discussed, or maybe other topics related to starting your business in Indonesia?
Oke, untuk semuanya silahkan boleh langsung mengajukan pertanyaan jika ada di chat box. Boleh dengan menggunakan bahasa atau dengan menggunakan bahasa Inggris ya. Sambil kita masih menunggu sampai pertanyaan ada yang masuk.
Ya, jangan malu karena saya juga bisa bicara bahasa Inggris.
Iya, benar-benar.
Sorry, bahasa Indonesia.
Or maybe Vincent, is there anything you want to add?
Yes, actually, well, generally, what the kind of services that Check-in-Do offers lends itself pretty well to startups, because more often than not, we have companies that will set up their operations in Indonesia for the first time, and they are dipping their toes in the market. So for them to start with large capital expenditures, renting a full-scale office, hiring a full-scale team, and building the all their operations from scratch with large capital expenditure doesn't make sense. They're not sure if they're going to be successful in their ventures, and they also need a lot of guidance. So this is where we can definitely fill a gap, help them start very small, and sometimes we even have solutions where companies don't even have to set up a legal entity. We have solutions where we can hire employees on their behalf with the employer of record, for instance. We can also hold the product licenses for them and import the licenses on their behalf. So, for example, if you combine EOR plus product registration, product license holder service, then they don't even need a legal entity to get started. So in parallel to setting up their company and building up their business, they can enter the market immediately. It's cost effective, it's fast, and it's flexible. And actually, we see that these kind of services also translate really well for the startup world, whether the startup is locally created or in partnership with some foreign partners, where you're trying to run a lean organization. You need to save every penny. But you also, at the same time, need to be able to expand very quickly your operations, scale your operations very quickly. And this is where Eddie was trying to explain that with the business process outsourcing, if you have a good provider that can really support you with this, then you can simply scale your operations. So if you have, for example, if you're doing payroll, and suddenly you need to hire a bunch of people for your operations, then simply rather than looking for a new HR person to handle your payroll and so on, you can simply straight away focus on hiring the right talent for your team, and the payroll service will basically scale on the BPO side, on the business process outsourcing provider side. All right, so we have a question here. Okay. 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 Okay, so we have
Okay.
so here's the question. So I have a startup and we're still in MVP. What are the strategies to cope with the COVID-19 cases? We are a marketplace startup specialized and exclusively for Indonesian brand. Thank you. And how to make the SME or people who are still comfortable with the offline and convincing them into digital. Okay, so in the early stages, if you're setting up a startup, it depends. If you're, as we explained, right? If you're if you already have, if you're a completely local company, then you will set up a local or simply a local company. Then we would advise you to start working with to limit your basically to limit your expenses as much as possible. So you would go with, for example, for your office space, you may either start to try to work from home, or you may want to have, maybe if you're a bit later stages, you might want to get some serviced office somewhere where you would pay maybe on a monthly or quarterly basis, so you have flexibility to increase or decrease or move to your other places and so on. Um, so I would definitely look for all these kind of opportunities to uh, reduce your expenses. Once again, here, I think business process outsourcing would be very useful. As you are building your company, you can sign up for very simple, say, accounting and tax services or payroll processing services, which are still fairly cheap, and most likely cheaper than hiring a dedicated team at this stage. And as you figure out your business, as you're growing, then you can either hire your own people or simply continue to scale your business process outsourcing services. To cope with COVID-19, I think nowadays we've all had a lot of experience with dealing with social distancing, if that's how I understand your question properly. Um, we already quite used to working from home. Now it's quite common, so we have all sorts of tools for working from home. We can use Zoom that we're using right now, but you have other tools like Google Meet and so on. So you can either have your employees work from home, or you can have them work from co-working spaces. Nowadays, co-working spaces or service office spaces are following COVID-19 protocols with social distancing, cleaning the area, and having hand sanitizer on hand and so on. So this is probably how I would handle those parts. In terms of how to make people more comfortable, moving to digital from offline. I think at this stage, this is more of a global effort, and the in a social distancing situation, the best way for you is you need to you can only reach to people through digital means, right? Because you cannot really go to the mall and have some operations there and so on. So it's basically a stage where you will need to build your digital presence a lot more. Maybe that will be your first step, and then in parallel prepare some strategies, some marketing actions to transition the analog to the digital, and typically this will mean being present in malls and in physical places to do some street marketing, so on. I hope that answers your questions. Maybe Eddie, do you have something else to add?
Yeah, so Sandy, I'm actually from the legal background. Yeah. So actually, if I can give you some tips, I know you're doing startup, you're doing in minimum viable products, meaning you're just settling in, you're trying to see the market. Sometimes the business goes online, sometimes the business goes offline. I think if you are still trying to see how the market is going, you need to have like dedicated human resources. And if you're not really sure about how to do, you can employ freelancers or put them on a project based contract. So because some of the startups usually they fall on the pitfall, like they need to hire employee on a permanent basis. They forgot to put some employees on contract or project base. The point is, when you want to market the product, you need to also check on the manpower aspect, check the cost, if the employees is worth the money to invest into, if they have the qualifications to start the project. So maybe you can build on project base, hire the human resources on project base. You can evaluate their capabilities. If they're okay, maybe you can extend. If not, then maybe you can switch to another manpower. Because as things go on, then you will see how your staff are doing. If they're not doing well, you can always replace them. Find more for dedicated employees to support your vision. Yeah, I guess that's my pointer.
Yeah, and this is another, from the legal point of view, this is also where we're working with with an external agency, with a consulting firm, for handling the payroll aspects of your business is quite important, because usually the companies like Check-in-Do, I mean, I obviously use the example of Check-in-Do, but generally, if you're going to use a business process outsourcing provider, you will need someone that will be able to guide you in the legal aspects as well of hiring people. This is something that you don't want to, when you start your business, you don't want to end up in some kind of legal battle with some bad employee simply because you didn't have the right employment contract. So these are also important aspects that they cannot be overlooked. Do you have any other question? Anyone? Okay, thank you so much for this. So you're a
Thank you.
founder and
Sandy.
you're a founder of Creative Brand Agency and Oryaza.com. Okay, so we'll be sure to visit your website. Hopefully, maybe you will be one of the next unicorns in Indonesia.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me take over. Thank you, Sandy
Sure.
Bramantia, for the question. And untuk yang lainnya, ada pertanyaan lagi yang mau disampaikan? Kalau enggak, berarti workshopnya udah cukup jelas nih ya. Maybe sambil menunggu kita menutup acara ini, atau sambil menunggu sampai ada pertanyaan lain lagi, Vincent, is there something, maybe the last one you want to add?
Eddie, do you
Or
have something you want to add?
Well, I just received an update from the immigration office today. Like they will start gradually opening their services on June, yeah, June 12th. But that was on a local level. However, I'm seeing a positive note on this, because why? As maybe all of you guys know, that from this week, Jakarta has opened its offices, businesses to cater public needs, meaning that Jakarta will be recovering, maybe at fastest this month, or maybe next month they will open as normally. Because the fact is that even if it's COVID-19, business keeps going. As far as I know, as a layman, people are hungry, people are thirsty, and they need entertainment, they need data. I think that is a business opportunity for every one of us. And so long as you know, there is still demand, businesses will keep going. And the point is that, you know, sometimes if, you know, if you do some planning, it doesn't work, it'll be very good, you know, to have a trustworthy partner who you can ask for advice on regulation or on legal side, finance side, because we know that you're a businessman, you're very eager to earn profit, but please don't forget to about the compliance side and the tax side, because like it or not, sometimes the compliance side might cut off a bit on your profit.
Okay. Thank you, Eddie. Actually, Sandy asked us another question, which is a very good point. Do you have any discounts or special package prices for early stage startups due to mostly we're still in bootstrapping and with a limited budget? And please don't be sorry to ask. It's a good question. So actually, yes, we do. We actually have a special pricing in partnership with Plug and Play. So it's a specific pricing for Plug and Play startups. So we can definitely discuss on this and work together on a good deal with this. See what kind of pricing works the best. The idea for us is to really be a partner in building your business. We really like to see success stories from companies that we've worked with at the very early stages, and then see them flourishing. So we're definitely looking for definitely open for some special prices. Absolutely. Right.
Okay.
You're very welcome.
Oke, sepertinya sudah nggak ada lagi pertanyaan yang masuk nih. Mungkin ada yang masih malu-malu juga untuk bertanya di sini, tapi kalian bisa langsung contact Check-indo for more information or for further information. And last but not least, thank you Vincent and Eddie for the great and insightful session. And also for your information, GK Plug and Play will hold the next webinar event. So register yourself immediately via gkpnpevent.com.
Hello. Okay. Well, thank you very much for this opportunity that was offered to Check-indo to present with Plug and Play, and we hope that we will have more such sessions in the future.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. I think we've
Yeah.
lost. Have we lost Sonia?
Hello.
Sorry, Novia.
Hello. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Sorry
Novia, you're still here.
for the internet issues. Well, yeah. Let me just remind you again. We will hold the next webinar event on June 17. So register immediately via Eventbrite, gkpnpevents.com. Thank you for your participation to today's discussion. Last but not least, stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll see you guys again in the next webinar. Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Udah ya?